Millions of you were moved by our story of these sisters and a love so strong even death couldn't separate them. Now the saga continues on 2020 next.
Tonight, we're rocking with Bobby Brown's second performance as he brings down the house with songs from his hot new album. Join host Chaka Khan, ABC in concert, tonight.
Sunday, it's the Walt Disney World Happy Easter Parade. Join Joan London and Regis Philbin. Special guests from Full House, Jodie Sweetin, Mary-Kate Olsen, Home Improvement's Terrence Smith, and Blossom's Joey Lawrence. Plus, the whole Disney gang. Easter Sunday on ABC.
An ABC News brief. Now from Washington, Jack Smith.
Good evening. General Motors says it won't agree to a government request that it recall almost 5 million pickup trucks, which critics claim can explode inside impact crashes due to the placement of the truck's gas tanks. U.S. warplanes bombed an Iraqi anti-aircraft site today after they were fired on while patrolling the no-fly zone over northern Iraq. And next on 2020, perfectionism that backfires. That's News Brief.
Buy an international business class seat, and that's what you get. So what's the difference? Continental's new Business First. With the room and comfort of a true sleeper seat. The luxury of international first class, but at a business class fare. Continental's Business First. The business class to Europe that's truly first class. That's the difference.
Hi, I'm Jim McCann of 800 Flowers, and our guest, the Easter Bunny.
Call me Bun.
Bun, where do you get all those Easter eggs?
Well, a lot of my friends are chickens.
How about the chocolate ones?
The supermarket.
And the flowers?
Hey, I don't deliver flowers.
Good, so then we're not in competition.
You don't do eggs? I don't do flowers.
That's one Showers of Flowers bouquet guaranteed and delivered by Easter.
And to all you good eggs out there, happy Easter.
Worrying and waiting for the verdict in L.A. The story at 11.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters, and this is 2020.
From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life with Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. This is 2020. Tonight, who is this man? What is he trying to hide? Ask the women who work for him.
He couldn't, understand why you didn't want him to touch you. He was trying to fix my earring once.
And there's more. A 2020 investigation of a well-known promoter and his nationwide contest that rewards inventive school kids. Thousands of children vie for the prize. But in the end, who benefits the most? Tom Jarrell discovers what's really going on behind the closed doors of Invent America. Millions of you were moved by the inspirational love of the Holton family. Their twin babies were joined from birth. You shared their painful decision to separate the girls through surgery and the grief of their unexpected loss of Katie.
She would look down at the side Katie was, and she would sort of give a kind of a jerking reaction.
Tonight, a 2020 classic continues. The healing power of time and love.
Oh, you're eating some as well. Good girl.
Hugh Downs with a gentle portrait of Eilish. On her own. And is your child's best never good enough?
It makes me feel really weird if I don't have it done exactly right.
Does he throw in the towel rather than fail? Then your child may be a perfectionist, driven to do everything just right, rarely succeeding.
They can't live up to perfect.
The frustration can last a lifetime and lead to bigger problems.
Alcohol became my friend. Alcohol became me.
John Stossel with a warning about perfection and a test that you can take. There may be something very wrong when you have to be perfect. Those stories tonight, April 9th, 1993, after this brief message.
One little pack of Kool-Aid is a whole lot of fun. Wacky flavors. There's vitamin C, and everyone gets a big mustache. Kool-Aid soft drink mix. You really get your quarter's worth.
If you are willing to give up AT&T quality on a business call to Seoul, another company's rate could save you 8-1. In your money, that's about 1 cent.
Leaving AT&T doesn't make a lot of sense.
We begin with a story that surprised even us. What started out as one story turned out to be much more than we expected, and certainly more shocking. Recently, we heard from a group of women who had banded together to complain about their boss, and what they said were his repeated sexual advances. And then we discovered that their boss was a man with a name. He was the power behind a nationally known organization that deals with children, perhaps your children, a man you might even know.
But that was just the beginning. The deeper we dug into the story, the more questionable practices we found. In the end, they raised troubling possibilities. Is this not-for-profit organization really what it seems? Or is there something less admirable going on behind closed doors? Tom Jarrell looked for some answers.
Mr. Green, it's Tom Jarrell with ABC. Would you crack the door just so we can chat for a moment?
There's a man locked in this storage closet. His name is J. Morgan Green, and he ran into the closet when we paid an unexpected call at his office.
Mr. Green, could we talk just for a moment through the door? I've talked to
He
Ms.
wouldn't come
Ness.
out to answer any questions, and we've got a lot of them. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First, who is Jerry Green? Normally, he's a high-profile promoter. That's him shaking hands with former President Bush. Here he is with actress Jodie Foster. Green is chairman of Invent America, one of the most successful educational programs in the country. Invent America, a national contest which features inventions by children. Listen to Green explain his philosophy in this Invent America video.
Invent America, the concept to help children develop problem-solving skills, is probably the most important educational tool that a child can have.
Sounds good, a noble cause. But according to several former employees, Jerry Green was a nightmare boss, and women in the office were his target, like Brooke Fleming.
But by my third day, I was in tears, and just from his abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, already some sorts of sexual harassment. It was just awful, and I just counted the days until I could get out of there.
Some of the women hadn't met each other until after they quit. For most of them, they say, the problems began with sexual harassment.
We were doing these movie premieres.
Stephanie Cooper was hired as a fundraiser.
He kept saying over and over how he couldn't wait to see me in a bathing suit. And, you know, I don't see this as professional behavior at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I distinctly remember on at least 2 occasions, he just sort of stopped and he said, "Have you seen that movie Debbie Does Dallas? It's actually a very good movie."
It's horrible.
Becky Fisher.
My whole body would tense up knowing he was going to walk behind me. And he would just walk by and his hands would touch my shoulders, or he was trying to fix my earring once. And
Professionalism.
Laura Bacon was an executive assistant.
He would come up and he'd put his hand on my shoulder and he'd put his mouth right up to my ear while I was typing. You know, it would really turn me on if you would type this for me. And then if
Another woman, too embarrassed to appear on camera, said Green made comments about her breasts, about oral sex, and made other lewd comments.
And he just laughs it off. What are you, is it your time of the month? You know, what's the matter with you today? You know, I mean, he couldn't understand why you didn't want him to touch you and why, you know, it wasn't all right for him to treat you in this way. I mean, it was just absolutely awful. Every day this went on.
Kelly Weeks was Invent America's bookkeeper.
On that. If you told him to stop, he just wanted to do it even more. And my whole reason for leaving was when he started putting his fingers in my ears, just standing behind me, going like this, touching me, and that was it. That was my last day.
The complaints of sexual harassment brought the women together after they quit. Then, as they compared notes, they discovered other problems they had in common. The women concluded that Invent America, a federally tax-exempt organization, was not all it was cracked up to be. While the public impression is that of a charitable organization run for the benefit of the kids, Invent America, they say, is actually run as Jerry Green's private domain, without the normal checks and balances usually associated with nonprofit organizations. This is how Invent America is supposed to work. Kids at local schools come up with imaginative inventions, building them with the encouragement of their parents and teachers.
Ruby, can you tell us what this invention is?
A quick and easy rubber band holder.
Invent America, headquartered in Alexandria, Virginia, provides rule books at a price of about $3. Each year, 51 winners are selected by Invent America to win a trip to Washington, D.C. Jerry Green, who by all accounts is a genius at promotion, has recruited firms like Kmart, Pepsi-Cola, Polaroid, and Good Housekeeping. Together, they donate hundreds of thousands of dollars each year to pay not only for the trips, but for prizes, too. Invent America promises $600,000 in awards for the winning schools and savings bonds for the children. Some get their prizes promptly, but if you talk to other winners, getting those prizes can involve a long, long wait.
The bond is being issued to you by the United States Treasury.
Brittany Ryan, who invented a kid's travel table, read from a certificate promising her a $1,000 bond. But 6 months after winning, had she gotten her bond yet?
Nope.
Brittany's father called Invent America to find out where the prizes were.
The responses we've gotten have not been, either have been no responses or responses that we'll look into that and get back with you. And they never did.
And Erica, where are you from?
Potomac, Maryland.
Okay.
That's Erica Gorochow on Good Morning America.
It's a straw that when you're drinking hot liquids.
She invented the thermal straw when her dad was in the hospital. It cools down very hot liquids, making them easier to drink. It's the second time she's been a winner. The experience has been great. But at the time we talked, 6 months had passed without getting her bond. Her mother asked one of the sponsors about it.
I said, you know, what's going on here? Their response was, well, these things take a long time.
When the bonds were ordered or when people...
The former Invent America employees say some of those delays were deliberate. Jerry Green, they say, even ordered them to color copy savings bond receipts to convince angry families the bonds had been purchased for the winners when in fact they had not.
Jerry had Becky actually take this to a copy place, have color copies made, cut them out, and basically said, you have no choice, fill them out and send them to these children saying your bond has been ordered, which was an out-and-out, bold-faced lie. I mean, I had 400 sitting on my desk that had never been ordered for these children.
But there's more. Despite the hundreds of thousands of dollars in donated money, Jerry Green has a reputation for not paying bills. He's flown hundreds of kids and their families to Washington, D.C., yet according to Invent America employees, hotels and other businesses have either had to sue or badger Invent America in order to collect tens of thousands of dollars. According to the former staffers, the accent was on promotion. They say Green's concern for the kids wasn't always apparent. Congratulations. This little boy, Clint Lenz, invented the glow-in-the-dark toilet seat. According to Invent America workers, Jerry Green became furious that TV crews gave him more attention than Green got himself. Clint's mom.
It really seemed to be a personal thing. Clint was getting more attention than his, business, and he didn't like that.
As for Clint, he won't give up being an inventor.
I have to think of things, but I'm always thinking of something, but I don't want to go on Invent America really again.
But there are even more charges, and they have to do with Jerry Green and his handling of Invent America's funds, tax-free funds. Unlike other nonprofit organizations, where a voting board of directors oversees how money will be spent, for years in Invent America, there were only 2 directors, Jerry Green and this woman, his partner, Nancy Metz. They routinely transferred huge sums of money in and out of Invent America with absolutely no in-house accountability. During one 2-year period, almost $500,000 cycled through Invent America's accounts into the private accounts of Green and Metz. The bookkeeper told us what she did.
When they need money, they will come to me and tell me to transfer $10,000, $15,000, whatever they want at the time, from the Invent America account into their personal bank accounts.
How is the money at Invent America accounted for? As we said earlier, Invent America is a nonprofit organization granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. By law, such an organization must file a Financial Disclosure Form 990. Among other things, the 990 must reveal how much the nonprofit took in and how much it pays its top people. Also by law, the nonprofit firm must make available for public inspection that 990 disclosure form. So we decided to pay Invent America a visit.
I'm Tom Jarrell with ABC News 2020. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Mr. Green, please.
I'm
Jerry
sorry
Green.
he's not in right now.
This woman is Nancy Metz, the executive director of Invent America.
Can we wait for him? When do you expect him back?
I'm not sure when he'll be back.
Just then, Green returned, saw our cameras, and headed in the opposite direction. That's how he ended up in the storage room.
Mr. Green? Hello?
We went back to the office and asked to see the 990 forms.
Could we see your 990 forms?
I'll be happy to give you a copy of the 990, and I will tell you where you can go and obtain them.
Charles Patrizia is Invent America's lawyer. He showed us the 990s going back to 1988. According to our investigation, Green and Metz transferred hundreds of thousands of dollars into their own accounts. The attorney said that money was simply reimbursement for legitimate expenses and for advances made by Green and Metz on behalf of the foundation. Jerry Green has numerous personal credit card accounts under various names such as Morgan Green, J. Morgan Green, Morgan J. Green, and J.M. Green. We were shown thousands of dollars in credit card vouchers, which the lawyer says Green used to pay Invent America's bills and help the foundation make ends meet. But who approves such transactions? And when Green's bills come in, who approves what's reimbursable and what's not?
Who sits over them and says, you can't spend that money, that's personal money? And who sits and says, no, it's okay for them to do it, if it's not these two people?
The accountants, among others, will review the accounts. If they have a question, those questions will be addressed. Ultimately, of course, the tax authorities could review those. Ultimately, of course, the board of directors can review it.
But again, who have been the only board of directors all this time? Green and Metz. And what's more, during that time, there's never been a certified audit of Invent America's books. What about the delays in forking over the prizes? Patrizia says such things are rare. But I read him a memo distributed within the Albany, Oregon public school system explaining why it will no longer participate in the program.
The most important reason is that children who have been state winners do not receive the promised prizes from Invent America without some very persistent badgering by the district. We cannot support a program which disappoints our bright young students. Is that a breakdown in communication, that they don't understand when the prizes are being awarded, or is this...
I assume it is a breakdown in communication. I'll be happy to take a copy of this, and we'll be happy to contact them and find out what their difficulty was. But I think this is an unusual response to the foundation.
How about those businesses owed money by Invent America? The lawyer says they go unpaid because that's the way charitable organizations work. Bills are delayed while donations come in. Eventually they are paid. Not so according to the former Invent America employees, who say people came looking for their money so often, Jerry Green created an alias to run interference from the bill collectors.
So, on my first week, I learned that Jerry has an alias named Fred Lewis.
Fred Lewis?
Yes, I had several calls for people asking for Fred Lewis, and of course there was no Fred Lewis that works at Invent America, so he said, oh, I just spoke with him. He's a controller there. I spoke with him last week, so I went back to Kelly's office, and I said, Kelly, there's this person on the phone asking for Fred Lewis. She said, give that call to Jerry.
Who is Fred Lewis?
Fred Lewis was a non-existent person.
Right.
There was
According to the attorney, Fred Lewis was intended as a joke, not to deceive businesses looking for payment.
When a call requesting payment of a bill comes in, it's referred to in the office as a Fred Lewis call. And Jerry will sometimes play along with the joke, taking the call as Fred Lewis, simply as a means of continuing a camaraderie in the office.
Do organizations calling, looking for their money, and distraught over the fact that it's not coming in, consider it a joke?
I haven't talked to the organizations that call in.
Finally, what about the serious allegations of sexual harassment?
Mr. Green?
Since Jerry Green didn't want to respond directly, he sent a friend, Audrey Smith, who worked at Invent America until 1988, well before the recent staffers who have complained about Green's alleged sexual harassment.
He's someone that we socialize with from time to time, and I have never personally seen or have any reason to believe that that type of conduct would come from him.
About a month ago, several former employees of Invent America filed a formal complaint with the city of Alexandria, Virginia, charging Jerry Green with sexual harassment. And since some of our interviews, Invent America has done some backtracking. The children we talked to received their savings bonds, but their schools still have not received the computers they had been promised. And what about those tax disclosure forms we were shown by Invent America's lawyer? Forms going back 4 years. It turns out when we first called Invent America, they had never been filed with the Internal Revenue Service. In fact, they had only been written and submitted to the IRS several weeks after we first contacted Invent America, asking questions about their finances. According to Ken Albrecht of the National Charities Information Bureau, a watchdog organization, the foundation violates the Bureau's basic standards for a nonprofit organization, including having too few members on its board to maintain proper oversight, and there's more.
There's no indication that in the 8 or 9 years that this organization has been in business, and it has taken in over $5 million one way or another, that they were ever audited by an independent certified public accountant. That's incredible.
Are Jerry Green and Invent America in trouble as a result? Not according to their lawyer.
Is it possible that Jerry Green could be a nicer person? Sure. Is it possible he could try to be more subtle? Sure. But that's not Jerry Green. That's not the way you get the drive and the determination and the commitment that led the program to be as successful as it is. Does the program make mistakes? Sure. Does Jerry Green make mistakes? Sure. So do I.
Ah, well, so Tom, mistakes or not, what happens to Invent America now?
It's still running, Barbara, and Jerry Green and the organization is trying to improve their image somewhat. They are going to add a couple of people to the board of directors, for example. They also are going to have a full audit of the books for the year 1992. So they're trying to improve their image somewhat and get more in compliance with the standard way that these organizations operate.
Of course, the concept is a very good concept.
It's a wonderful concept. The people we talk to are not criticizing the concept. I mean, what else could produce glow-in-the-dark toilet seats and thermal thermometers for hospital patients than children? And it's a good concept.
What about the charges of sexual harassment?
The City of Alexandria Human Rights Commission will look into those, and if they determine that they are valid, that they're worth prosecuting in court, they'll take them to court. Otherwise, they'll dismiss them.
Well, even Jerry Green's lawyer says that some mistakes have been made. We'll keep watching and see if they're cleared up.
Right.
Thank you, Tom.
2 months ago, we brought you one of our most unforgettable stories. The Holton family chose to separate their conjoined twins. How is the surviving twin coping? A poignant visit with the Holtons when we come back.
In addition to its sleek styling and spacious leather and walnut-trimmed interior, the new Acura Legend Coupe LS has the precision of a 6-speed manual transmission, the sure-footedness of traction control, and the acceleration of a 230-horsepower engine. In the world of luxury automobiles, nothing can touch it.
Wow, somebody must think I'm special.
'Cause you got Raisin Bran?
Not just Raisin Bran, Post Premium Raisin Bran. With not just lots, but hundreds of big plump raisins.
Look at all I got.
And these flakes, premium, with not just whole wheat bran too.
So it's good for you.
Somebody sure thinks I'm special.
It's me and Mommy.
Post Premium Raisin Bran makes everybody feel like somebody's special.
If your business gives up AT&T quality and calls from Miami to Seattle with someone else, here's your big savings. Leaving AT&T doesn't make a lot of sense.
It happened at the Ponds Institute. The discovery of Nourishing Complex 7.
the miracle behind Pond's new Nourishing Moisturizer Lotion. A moisturizer so advanced, it adds more effective moisture than the leading moisturizer. It reduces the appearance of fine lines by 20%, and it is oil-free. Pond's new Nourishing Moisturizer. For more information, call the Institute at 1-800-34-PONDS.
Thanks to SmartRate from the Discover card, interest charges now have a whole new bottom line. SmartRate, currently as low as 14.9%. It pays to Discover.
A world-class field goes head-to-head as the Jeep Superstars continues. Plus, celebrate the International Special Olympics all Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Saturday, on a special 2-hour Kamish movie.
Maybe we could get into bed together.
Tony goes undercover in a New York porno ring.
There are dangerous people in that business.
But plans backfire and Tony is kidnapped. The Kamish, Adventures in the Skin Trade, Saturday.
Millions of you were deeply moved earlier this year by our story about the Holton family and their extraordinary response to a personal tragedy. Their twin daughters were born conjoined, more commonly known as Siamese twins, a situation that presented the Holtons with an agonizing decision. Tonight, thanks to the Holtons and British television cameras, we bring you back to Ireland for a follow-up to this inspirational story. It was 2 months ago that we first told you about the Holton twins. They were born on August 24th, 1988 in Dublin. Their parents, Liam and Mary, found out only 1 day before that they would be conjoined twins.
So when I saw them, they're just two little babies. I was amazed at how normal looking they were, you know.
The twins, Katie on the right and Eilish on the left, were 2.5 years old here in May of 1991. Despite their serious disability, they appeared to be quite happy. That's due in large part to their parents, who from the beginning regarded them as normal children in a unique situation.
Hey, Daddy.
From the beginning, the question of separation overshadowed the twins' lives because, despite their relative good health, their physical disabilities were severe.
Good girls. And one, well done, and down you go.
For instance, with only 2 legs between them, walking was a major challenge, which would require lengthy training to learn.
You can come up this way over here. You don't have to.
So as Katie and Eilish grew older, the Holtons began to explore the possibility of separation.
We'll sit up.
As we explained in our report in February, the tests showed that Katie and Eilish had separate hearts, lungs, and spinal columns, which meant separation was a possibility. But they also shared some internal organs, and these were potential obstacles to separation. Between them, they had just 1 bladder, 1 large intestine, 1 enlarged liver, and only 2 kidneys. In fact, Katie and Eilish were more severely joined than any conjoined twins who have been successfully separated in the past. This harsh reality left Mary and Liam with an agonizing dilemma when it came to the question of separation.
Look! It's a lovely cake, isn't it?
August 24th, 1991 was the twins' 3rd birthday. Even though Mary and Liam had consulted with doctors around the world, they remained undecided about the surgery.
Where will we put it? This way.
Our twins are so dear to us that we don't want to take any risks with our lives.
Ultimately, after months of agony, Mary and Liam, fueled by the hope of a better life for their daughters, decided to go ahead with the operation. Their doctors believed that both girls had a very good chance of survival. The surgery, performed April 1st of last year, lasted 16 hours, and the separation seemed successful.
Very nice, isn't it?
But 4 days later, Katie unexpectedly died of heart failure, and Eilish became quiet and withdrawn.
She would look down at the side Katie was, and she would sort of give a kind of a jerking reaction, and then she might sometimes start to cry and be distressed. She's lovely and clean and fresh now.
The last time you saw Eilish on 2020, she was still in the hospital. It was only after 4 months of recovery that she was finally able to go home.
What happened this morning?
Mary and Liam say that in the time that Eilish has been home, they've seen her depression lift.
Her playfulness seems to have got greater, and she has become more involved in life than she was when she was attached to Katie. But she doesn't show any major psychological problems that I can see.
Of course, the entire family has been struggling with major emotional adjustments because they've all suffered the loss of Katie. But obviously, it's Eilish who has had the most profound adjustments to make.
Who are you looking up at? Are you looking up at that nice picture? Liam? Wasn't that nice picture up there? Are you in it? Come on. Is Katie in it? See her? Look at her. Katie's up there too. On a bad day, you have a lump in your throat mentioning Katie. On a good day, you can be as Eilish is and talk freely of her. And you can, conjure up this lovely picture of Katie elsewhere. If you're having a bad day, it's quite difficult to take that on board. But you do for the sake of Eilish and get on with it and tell her that, Katie is well-minded and that Katie loves her and that Katie died because her heart was weak. And to emphasise to Eilish that her heart is not weak in case she would have fears. Good.
Medically, 9 months after the operation, Eilish is making a good recovery. She has all the internal organs she needs because the surgeons were able to split and reconstruct the organs shared with her sister. Eilish has had a few kidney infections, but they've cleared up, which is crucial since she has only one kidney. Her wound, which runs the entire length of the left side of her body where she and Katie had been joined, is almost fully healed.
Hop in here. Oh, big push. Good girl.
For now, Eilish has to wear a pressure garment which reduces scar formation, and she will need some additional medical attention for her left arm. When she and Katie were joined, her left arm was restricted to her back and connected to Katie's right arm. Today, although Eilish has good use of her left hand, her arm remains stuck in a position with a limited range of motion. To help Eilish gain more use of her arm, her doctors are considering surgery.
Do you want to play there like a thing sorted out here? Huh?
In the meantime, she's managed to become quite an independent little girl, despite her arm and despite the fact that she has only one leg.
Hiya. How are you?
Hello, Jerry.
How are you?
When Jerry Walsh, Eilish's former physical therapist, came to visit, Eilish was ready to display her accomplishments.
What's he going to do, Eilish? Are you going to show me all you can do? Are you going to show me all you can do?
You know the way he can get off the couch?
But sure, she need loads of help, would she, ma'am?
Ah, do you? Come on, and guess what? When you get here, I'll give you a cuddle.
Oh.
Now. Good girl. That's it.
Oh, Eilish, you are great.
You
are great.
Come on.
Well done.
Oh, you're very good.
In the future, Eilish will receive an artificial leg, but it's too soon for that since her wound hasn't completely healed.
Absolutely brilliant.
Even though Eilish isn't expected to be fitted for her prosthesis for a few months, she's come with her parents to the Roehampton Rehabilitation Centre in London for a preliminary visit.
Hello.
No, doctor.
Glad to meet you. The thigh bone.
Dr. Salia Suri explained that since Eilish has a hip bone only on her right side, her prosthesis will also need a device that will function like a hip. Dr. Suri demonstrated how the artificial leg works.
Now, when Eilish sit down, she can bend that lever and bring the leg to the sitting position. Okay. And when she stands up, the knee joint locks automatically.
Right.
So that it is meant to give stability when she puts weight through it.
Right.
Attached to the top is the device which will work like a hip for Eilish.
You gotta feel it, Eilish.
Let's go.
So many traumas, so many big adjustments for such a small girl. Yet back in Ireland, this courageous and resilient girl, with the help of her loving family, seems to be thriving.
I get that I get bacon of
But what about Mary and Liam? Do they have any regrets about the choice they made to separate the twins? A choice which unexpectedly and tragically led to Katie's death.
I have no regrets about what we've gone through, because I believe it had to be done, that we had to give them the chance that was given to us. We feel that Katie wanted us to take that chance. We felt that explaining it to Katie, she wanted to be separated. She wanted to have the freedom that we see Eilish has today. And I mean, when we see the quality of Eilish's life today, I know Katie would have wanted that too.
Don't you get the feeling that those parents are extraordinarily able in handling this situation?
Just what we felt when we saw the original report, how the whole family comes together to love and cherish each other. Now, Eilish should almost be ready for school.
They have hopes of that if she adjusts readily to her prosthetic limb, that she'll start. She's 4.5 now and could start in the fall. If not, she'd be 5.5 and have another year to adjust. But they think she can start in the fall.
And psychologically, she seems all right.
She projects a personality. She's a pretty little thing, and you get the feeling that she's quite a neat child with a chance for a good life.
A lovely miracle.
Yeah.
A happy child. Thank you, Hugh. Well, next, do people say that you're too critical, that you're never satisfied, that you nitpick, or maybe you're just a perfectionist? Now, that's not a crime, but it could be a sign of trouble, and the trouble could last a lifetime. John Stossel has that story after this.
Quality results depend on making the right investments, and at Ford Motor Company, that begins with our employees. We invest over $20 million each month in the continuing education and training of our employees, and they, in turn, teach us new things every day. The bottom line, increased motivation and an obsession with quality.
At Ford, an investment in education is an investment in quality.
Ford Motor Company, quality is job one. It's working. You've just poured the milk on your bowl of Kellogg's Crispets when something keeps you from it. Good thing Crispets has a special shape that stands up to milk. So even if you can't get to it right away, Crispets still stays crispy and great tasting.
They're still crispy.
Kellogg's Crispets, the taste that waits for you.
I just feel like empty and negative.
Can't even face my family, let alone...
Sadness, terrible, terrible sadness.
I have to get up, and I don't want to... Oh my God, how worthless am I? Pleasure seems to have gone out of life.
If this doesn't get better...
The logical best thing for me to do is to kill myself.
If you can finish several of these sentences, you may have clinical depression. Call for a free booklet or see a doctor.
You can come out of it and actually find a reason to live and actually be able to enjoy your life.
Professional. I know what it means, and I know what it takes. It's not only being your best, but looking your best. Matrix Essentials. Now that's professional. My stylist, these products. Because let's face it, the only way to get a professional salon look is in a salon. Matrix Hair Care, hair color, perms, skin care, and cosmetics. Matrix Essentials, the professional's choice for beauty. Only in fine salons.
Sunday. Patrick Swayze is a Kentucky cop in the big city.
You set up my brother, you forgot to kill me.
Taking on the mob country style. A network television premiere. Patrick Swayze, Liam Neeson, next of kin Sunday.
By the time he was 5, there were signs of trouble. The little boy who had to be perfect became a frustrated and depressed adult. Something may be very wrong if you have to be perfect. The symptoms and a test for you to take when 2020 continues after this from our ABC stations.
We've got lots and lots and lots and lots of chunky sauce. Lots of apples you'll adore. Lots of flavor to the core.
Unlike regular sauces, Mott's Chunky has big slices of crisp apples. Apples like Rome, Macintosh, and Delicious. So it's thick and chunky.
You love apples, we've got lots.
From Channel 6, this is an Action News Brief with Jim Gardner.
Good evening. The government says GM trucks like these could be death traps, but GM says it won't recall them. Dan Cuellar gets the reasons why tonight. Some residents in Philadelphia suburbs say they're getting a little too close to nature. They're trying to figure out how to get rid of deer they say are ruining their property. And in Egypt, they're trying to figure out what's making young girls faint, sometimes hundreds at a time. Those stories plus the Phillies and AccuWeather for the weekend on Action News at 11 o'clock tonight.
When cars are called luxury sedans, what does that mean? Leather appointments? Absolutely. Dual airbags, wood trim? Mandatory. You gotta have a CD player and power sunroof. But you know what? On most luxury sedans, these features cost extra. Not the Infiniti J30. They're all standard. See, Infiniti thinks when you buy a luxury car, the luxury shouldn't be optional.
For a J30 signature lease, see your Infiniti dealer today.
This Saturday only, the spectacular 15-hour sale at Wanamaker's. 15 hours of terrific store-wide savings just in time for Easter. The 15-hour sale, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. this Saturday, only at Wanamaker's.
Issues and Answers with Lou Gambaccini of SEPTA, Sunday.
You know the saying, you can never be too rich or too thin, but can you try to be too perfect? Well, there's a fine line between striving for excellence, and that's a good goal to have, and striving for the impossible, that is, perfection. But there are some people who don't know the difference. Maybe it's your child, maybe it's you. If your best is never good enough, or if your child cries tears of frustration over simple tasks, you both may be suffering from perfectionism. And as John Stossel found out, that's a problem that runs deep and could last a lifetime.
Everything that I do or become involved with, I expect the utmost to come from that. And my standards are exceptionally high.
Zeze Goza is a perfectionist and proud of it. You can see it in his house. The guest room has beds precisely made, magazines neatly arranged. In Zeze's closet, everything's carefully separated. The solid shirts kept apart from the striped ones. Shoes are in plastic bags. It seems silly to me, but Zeze says doing things perfectly is the best way to live.
So this works for you?
Sure.
You got good grades in school?
Sure.
Got a good job? Got the job you wanted?
Sure.
You're doing well at the job?
Sure.
No complaints?
No complaints.
Yet his perfectionism may have kept him from finding someone to marry.
I just look for quality.
And there are people of quality around?
Sure. They just have not come across my path yet.
Is there anything negative about being a perfectionist?
Not from my perspective. I feel good by being a perfectionist.
And why not? The world applauds perfection.
Yes! She has done the best vault of her life!
Will she get a perfect score?
There it is! She did it! 10, the gold medal!
Everywhere we look, we're told perfection's the goal. All this seems like a good thing. Certainly, we're better off if we strive for excellence. However, there is a difference between pursuing excellence and perfection. Psychologists now say that those who strive for perfection ask for trouble. Why? Well, because perfection's an impossible goal. So trying for it just sets you up for failure. Research on highly successful athletes found the non-perfectionists were more likely to make it to the top. They were better able to recover from their mistakes, while perfectionists were held back because they dwelled on their mistakes. Some perfectionists are so paralyzed by the need to do it just right, they can't do anything at all. All or nothing thinking, the psychologists call it. Hero zero. Either I'm perfect or I'm nothing. This has some surprising consequences. Many perfectionists are procrastinators. For fear of not being perfect, they just don't start the job. Writer's block's a form of perfectionism. This isn't perfect, so I can't write at all. Stage fright, too. Even anorexia. I must be perfectly thin. Psychologists say perfectionism has also driven people to drugs, alcohol, and deep depressions, all because they just can't stand not being perfect. Symptoms often start in childhood. In Wisconsin, psychologist Sylvia Rim specializes in helping kids who have perfectionistic tendencies. We ask her to demonstrate some of the tests she uses to identify perfectionists.
There are puzzles that are underneath your chairs, and I'd like you to get your puzzles out.
She asked the kids to complete a puzzle that has a missing piece. While some kids just keep trying, others get very frustrated.
They kept doing them over again or felt badly and looked pressured because they were feeling inadequate.
And that's the perfectionist.
That's the perfectionist. Now, the next thing I'd like you to do is to draw a picture of your family.
Even when she gave them a task that has no right or wrong answers, the perfectionists still struggled. Many were so critical they erased more than they drew. Some, like 11-year-old Janelle, turned their pictures in face down.
When you turned this in, you turned it over.
Mm-hmm.
How come?
Because it was dumb. I didn't like that I did.
You thought the picture was dumb? What was dumb?
Because I didn't finish.
Why were you erasing so much?
Because I kept on screwing up.
10-year-old Caleb didn't like his drawing either.
What's wrong with this? You've got good motion in there. People are throwing a ball. I can't draw that.
Well, it just looks bad. It looks horrible. I'm not good at drawing.
You can see the self-criticism in his face.
When I draw, it seems like everything's going wrong and that I'm just doing a really bad job. And sometimes it looks okay, but it's not good enough for me. I really like everything done perfectly.
Like what?
Well, like in our puzzle today, I had to have everything lined up exactly on the lines. I think, well, it just doesn't look good, you know? It makes me feel really weird if I don't have it done exactly right.
Dr. Rim says this is probably why Caleb had stomach aches when he switched to middle school.
I just kind of felt like I wasn't doing as well as I was doing in prior years because I was so used to doing everything perfectly. They're still getting A's, but like 94s, not 100s.
Why do kids feel such pressure? Dr. Rim says it's often because they get the wrong kind of praise.
Some praise is very good for children. It's very healthy, and children need praise. But these children get extreme praise. And so, genius, brilliant, Albert Einstein, you're going to cure cancer, gorgeous, perfect. They get themselves caught in a bind. They can't live up to perfect.
I'm used to doing really well, and then I need to do really well to feel good about myself.
Is it helpful or hurtful?
It probably excels me sometimes in doing a better job, but sometimes it'll make me resist from doing something that I'm not sure I can do well at.
This is another side to perfectionism. Not only does it make you tense, it can actually inhibit performance because it makes people afraid to try. When Kristen had trouble with the puzzle, she just stopped trying.
You gave up on the puzzle. How come?
Well, I couldn't get it, and it was getting on my nerves.
Of course, all kids quit sometimes. So when should a parent be concerned?
Well, they certainly should look for signs of pressure. Crying when their work isn't done, procrastinating, incomplete work, self-criticism, inability to take criticism from someone else.
And what do you do then?
Watch your praise words. Use more moderate praise. And the rule of thumb there is use the kind of praise that kids will be able to live up to. Good worker, hard worker, persevere, good thinker, smart kid, creative ideas, but watch the brilliant, genius, extraordinary kinds of words. We just have a few
And it's important to help the kids, because those who don't shake their perfectionism may face lifelong struggles, like Roger has.
I could identify with you today when you said, God, we had a group of kids, and they turned the paper over. No, you can't see that. Well, that was me. That was me in kindergarten.
Roger, he didn't want us to use his last name, has struggled with perfectionism all his life. Even his grade school teachers noticed. One wrote in his 6th grade report card, Roger's angered if things don't work out perfectly. She thought he would outgrow it, but he didn't.
I used to live anywhere from 10 to 15 years down the road. When I was 18, I knew what I was going to be doing at 30. I had it all planned, on paper.
That made graduating from college without a specific career plan terrifying.
And I realized that, my God, I'm graduating in 6 weeks. Totally overwhelmed. Didn't have a job, didn't know where I was going, felt hopeless. Consequently, I went into a deep depression.
And you would have panic attacks.
Yeah, panic attacks constantly. I get into a state of mind where my heart is racing, my mind's racing, and I'm just shaking like a leaf. I didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to bathe, didn't want to get dressed, didn't want to brush my teeth because I felt it wasn't going to be right.
Alcohol helped.
Helped a lot. Alcohol made me feel, would release the perfectionism. It would take that part of my brain, whatever it is, I don't know, but it would shut it down. And it would leave me alone.
You'd say, hey, it doesn't have to be perfect.
No, I wouldn't care. Who cares? You know, and I could do a task and just leave it half done.
That made alcohol tempting.
Oh, alcohol became my friend. Alcohol became me.
He considered killing himself. But then he went for counseling. He stopped drinking. And now, after 4 years of therapy, he's given up most of his perfectionism, too.
My life is 100%, 10 times better, 20 times better. It's incredible.
Guys.
I just got engaged to a wonderful lady. I'm up and running my own small business, and my life is being put back together today.
I love being outside.
We want to give you a minute now to grab a pencil and paper, because when we come back, John will have a test. Are you a perfectionist? Well, you can find out right after this.
These 3 such very good friends wanted a glorious son of St. Thomas. But one evening, the tall one lost her money and her credit cards. And as soon as she mentioned Citibank Visa, no problem, I told her. Call this minute. Go on. They're open all the time. Well, she got a new card in one day. I see credit cards from all around the world, and with Citibank, it's always the same thing. No problem.
Not just Visa, Citibank Visa.
If I said I found a breakfast that helps keep me going strong all morning, you'd say, what's this great new discovery? Well, it's not new. It's breakfast with grape nuts. I heard try it for a week and see how good you'll feel all morning. Well, you know what? I feel great. Turns out, grape nuts is a fat-free, natural energy source. And it tastes so good, so hearty.
Breakfast with Post-Grape Nut cereal helps keep you going strong all morning long.
Really, you've got to try it. Just give it a week yourself.
If you are willing to give up AT&T quality on a business call to Seoul, another company's rate could save you 8-1. In your money, that's about 1 cent.
Leaving AT&T doesn't make a lot of sense.
Introducing the 190 horsepower Prelude VTEC. It's very quick, no matter how you look at it.
If you want to get results like these, you gotta know the tricks of the trade. You gotta ask Sherwin-Williams. They got good paint, good price, good advice. I didn't paint this house. A do-it-yourselfer did. He knows what the pros know. Ask Sherwin-Williams.
Sunday on day 1, Officer Lawrence Powell, of over 50 blows to Rodney King, he struck the most.
Very few people decide to take on the police, but every person who takes on the police have to fight back.
As this explosive trial comes to an end, the nation waits, and Powell speaks to Day 1, Forrest Sawyer, Day 1, Sunday.
Monday, the world television premiere. An epic saga about a country severed by war.
You're out of line, sir. And you were in the north, sir.
About families torn.
Brother against brother.
And friends divided.
You're about to go fight against everything I've ever stood for.
About love lost
Shelby!
and love found.
Very forward, Mr. O'Neill.
Forward is the order of the day. A story of truth, honor, and courage. I'm willing to die for it. Monday, class of 61.
Hugh and I have our pens ready, although you can probably just count on your hands or fingers if you want to do it this way. This is a quiz that will tell whether or not you suffer from perfectionism. We're ready, John.
I should say that this test was developed by David Burns. He's a psychiatrist at Presbyterian Medical Center in Philadelphia. You should score how much you agree with the following 5 statements.
Statement 1. People will probably think less of me if I make a mistake. If you agree very much with the statement, give yourself 2 points. If you agree somewhat, give yourself 1 point. If you disagree, no points. People will probably think less of me if I make a mistake. Statement 2. If I cannot do something really well, there's little point in doing it at all. If you agree very much, give yourself 2 points. Agree somewhat, 1 point. If you disagree, no point. If I cannot do something really well, there's little point in doing it at all. Statement 3. I often get upset if I make a mistake. If you agree very much, give yourself 2 points. Agree somewhat, 1 point. If you disagree, no point. I often get upset if I make a mistake. Statement 4. It's shameful to be weak or to fail. If you agree very much, 2 points. Agree somewhat, 1 point. If you disagree, no points. It's shameful to be weak or to fail. 5. Failing at something important means I'm less of a person. If you agree very much, give yourself 2 points. Agree somewhat, 1 point. If you disagree, no point. Failing at something important means I'm less of a person. Now add up your scores. According to Dr. Burns, if you scored 2 or less, you're not a perfectionist and you have a healthy sense of self-esteem. If your score was 3, 4, or 5, you're slightly too moderately perfectionistic and should be careful that you're not setting yourself up for problems. If you scored from 6 to 10, you're very perfectionistic, and you should reconsider the way you think about things. So?
I think it's a silly test.
Well, you didn't come out...
I came out in the middle, but I mean, it's so obvious, sort of. Well, I kind of sort of got a 3.
That's what I scored 3, and I'm so upset that I didn't do perfect in this test.
I scored 5. I can't believe you scored so low. You are such a perfectionist. Maybe that's why it is a silly test.
No, she's a workaholic. She's not a perfectionist.
I'm not a workaholic. I used to be a workaholic. Now I'm perfect. I'm not a workaholic.
The difference between...
But if you don't have some... Oh, never mind.
You got to have some drive. That's
yeah,
true.
Okay.
You have to have some drive. I think the point of the experts here is that when it's really severe, it paralyzes you.
Yeah.
That line between... It's a compulsion. And pursuit of excellence is fine, but pursuit of perfection leaves you no room for error. And it's so easy just to give up.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Do you feel that way?
Interesting. Thank you, John. We'll be right back.
If your business gives up AT&T quality and calls from Miami to Seattle with someone else, here's your big savings. Leaving AT&T doesn't make a lot of sense.
Here's one way to make your all-purpose vehicle a true all-terrain vehicle. Here's another, the Goodyear Wrangler GSA with triple traction. It's like getting 3 tires in one. You get an area for quiet highway traction, for wet weather traction, and for rugged off-road traction from Goodyear. Wherever you drive, on the road, off the road, down the highways, wet or dry, get the tire that's like 3 tires in one. Wrangler GSA, only from Goodyear. You'll know why we like to say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
That movie made me hungry. My mom's making chicken and stovetop stuffing. Hey, my mom's making chicken and stuffing too. Is it stovetop? No, it's another kind. There is no other kind. My house, guys.
There's no substitute for stovetop stuffing.
I'm Jim Gardner for Action News. Defense lawyers call Rodney King a liar as the trial winds to a close. General Motors says it will not recall thousands of pickup trucks. Suburban neighborhoods try to cope with huge numbers of deer. And in Don Pollock's world, a man whose turf is his lawn. Dave Roberts and the Weekend AccuWeather forecast next on Action News Tonight.
Coming in May.
You're the greatest.
For 2 weeks in 1957, they were the most famous kids in America.
You'll always be my girl.
Murder in the Heartland.
You're telling me that thing out there is talking to you?
Something wonderful is happening in Haven. Pray it doesn't happen to you. Stephen King's The Tommyknockers. From the director of Platoon and JFK.
What's happening to me?
Oliver Stone's Wild Palms, coming in May.
In 2 more days, it will be day 1. Got that? That's ABC's new news magazine. It airs every Sunday night beginning at 8 Eastern Time. And here to tell you about this week's program is host Forrest Sawyer.
Barbara, when Michael Jackson was interviewed by Oprah Winfrey a few weeks ago, he said some tough things about his family. Sunday on day 1, the Jacksons talked back.
Michael said he was so frightened of you sometimes that he would be sick. Is that true?
I didn't know anything about him being sick, but regurgitating. But if he did regurgitate it, he regurgitated all the way to the bank, you know.
Members of the Jackson family in an exclusive interview with correspondent Michelle McQueen, Sunday on day 1. You?
That's day 1, this Sunday night at 8 Eastern Time. Don't forget to watch Nightline after your local news. That's 2020 for tonight.
And remember, we're in touch, so you'll be in touch. I'm Barbara Walters.
And I'm Hugh Down.
And for everyone here at 2020, happy Easter, have a good weekend, good night.
2020 is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
This is ABC.